Fushi from To Your Eternity is an immortal being brought into the world by some enigmatic power. He spends the first few hundred years of his existence pretty mindless. He's just operating on instinct, barely able to function. He only learns and grows when he encounters other living beings. Why is that? Sure, the series has some narration about him needing stimulation to learn and grow, but is that how psychology actually works? Or is it just something unique to whatever the heck Fushi is? Actually, it's psychology and it's totally normal. How do we know? From research on sense of self, of course. Sense of self is like a pretty broad concept in psychology, but to sum it up, it's your beliefs and knowledge about who you are as a person and your sense that you are a separate being from other people. I'd argue that Fushi definitely doesn't have one of these at the start of the story. He doesn't seem to have any conscious thought at all. He only starts showing things like curiosity, emotions, and so on when he meets the unnamed boy. His development stagnates for a while after that boy dies, but then moves forward at a rapid pace after he meets March. This is pretty consistent with what we know about how senses of self develop. Psychological theory states that we develop a sense of self, who we are, that we exist separate from others, and so on, through interacting with other individuals of our same species. Obviously, it wouldn't be ethical to raise a human in the absence of a social environment, but there is evidence of this on chimpanzees. Not that I would consider this terribly ethical on chimpanzees either, but the 70s were a different time. In the 1970s, Gordon Gallup compared chimpanzees raised in a social environment to chimpanzees raised in complete isolation. He found that the chimpanzees raised in a social environment were able to recognize themselves in a mirror. This is a pretty classic way of testing whether a living being has a sense of self. But chimps raised in isolation showed no signs of recognizing themselves in the mirror. In other words, there was no indication that they had a sense of self. Maybe Fushi isn't the same species as just about anyone that he interacts with, but close enough. He's interacting with others in a social environment, which allows him to develop a sense of self. Totally consistent with psychology. That's all for today. I hope that you have a great one. Take care.